Your phone has an expiration date. It was set before you bought it, before you saw the advertisement, before the color caught your eye or the camera spec impressed you. Somewhere in the engineering and business decisions of 3 specific companies, a number was chosen. The year your phone stops being supported, the year security patches stop arriving, the year apps begin refusing to work. Nobody told you this date when you handed over your money. It wasn't in the box. It wasn't in any conversation with any salesperson. But it exists. It's specific, and right now, one of those 3 companies has already decided when your phone will stop being worth using. Let's start with the company most people think of when they think about phones dying too fast. And let's start specifically in 2017, because that year produced one of the most significant corporate admissions in consumer technology history. In late 2017, a benchmark developer noticed something strange. His iPhone 6s performed dramatically better on a battery performance test after he replaced its battery. Not faster, because a new battery delivered more charge. Faster because the processor, which had been running below its rated clock speed, suddenly returned to full performance. The implication was immediate and alarming. Apple's software had been deliberately throttling the CPU performance of older iPhones, and the justification Apple eventually provided, that this was done to prevent unexpected shutdowns in phones with aging batteries, did not address the more fundamental question of why Apple had never told anyone they were doing it. Apple's explanation was technically defensible. Lithium-ion batteries degrade over time and become less capable of delivering peak current when the processor demands it suddenly. Without performance management, an aging battery could fail to supply enough current during a processor spike, causing the phone to shut down instantly. Apple's solution was to quietly limit peak processor performance, smoothing out those current demands to prevent the shutdowns. The technical reasoning is sound. The execution was the problem, and what made it the problem was the specific effect it produced on consumer behavior. Millions of people whose iPhones had become visibly slower attributed that slowdown to aging hardware and concluded they needed a new phone, when the cause was actually a software decision that could have been reversed, or more importantly, disclosed. Apple received $500 million in settlement from an American class action lawsuit, while denying wrongdoing. France fined Apple 25 million euros for failure to inform users. Italy fined Apple 10 million euros for planned obsolescence and misleading commercial practices, in the same 2018 ruling that also fined Samsung 5 million euros for similar behavior. France, which had criminalized planned obsolescence in 2015 under a law that carries a maximum penalty of 2 years in prison and fines up to 5% of annual turnover, separately opened a criminal investigation. France then opened another investigation in 2023, this time examining whether Apple's use of cryptographic serial number pairing, tying replacement components to specific device serial numbers through embedded chips, constitutes a new form of planned obsolescence by restricting repairs or remotely degrading phones repaired with third-party components. Here is what Apple's approach to phone lifespan actually looks like in 2026, when you strip away the marketing language and look at the mechanisms. Apple controls which iPhone models receive iOS updates. When a model is removed from the iOS support list, that phone stops receiving security patches. Without security patches, a phone accumulates unaddressed vulnerabilities at a pace that makes banking apps, messaging apps, and any application handling sensitive data genuinely risky to use. The phone's hardware continues to work. The battery charges and discharges. The camera takes photos. The screen responds to touches. Nothing physical has failed. What has failed is the software scaffolding that makes a modern smartphone appropriate to use for modern tasks. And that scaffolding was removed by a decision at Apple's headquarters that involved no input from the phone's owner and no option to opt out. The French Repairability Index, which scores consumer electronics on a 10-point scale based on how repairable they are, gives the majority of iPhone models a score below 5 out of 10. Apple designs devices where the battery is glued into the chassis, where the screen and other components require specialized tools and proprietary fasteners to access, where replacing a component with a third-party part, even an identical part, can trigger warnings in the operating system or reduce functionality, because the original part's serial number doesn't match the one enrolled in Apple's system. Each of these design choices independently reduces the likelihood that a consumer will repair an aging device rather than replace it. Together, they form a system that Euro consumers, coordinating class action lawsuits across Belgium, Spain, Italy, and Portugal on behalf of 1.5 million consumers, describe directly, "It is unequivocal that Apple has implemented a conduct worldwide, aiming at increasing the replacement of old iPhones. The lawsuits seek at least 60 euros per affected iPhone 6 series owner. Apple denies wrongdoing. The litigation continues. This first company's influence is visible because Apple's name is on the device. You know who made your iPhone? The second company is different in a way that is specifically designed to be invisible, and its influence over the lifespan of your phone is arguably more direct than anything Apple does to iPhones. because it applies to the vast majority of smartphones on Earth before any manufacturer has made a single product decision. That company is Qualcomm. If you have an Android phone, there's almost certainly a Qualcomm chip inside it, or a MediaTek chip, or a Samsung Exynos chip. These are the system on chips, the silicon brains that handle every computation your phone performs. And their manufacturers are not the company whose name is on the back of your device. They're companies you may never have had a reason to think about when you chose your phone, but their decisions have already determined the maximum possible support lifespan of that device. And those decisions were made before your specific phone model was designed, before its camera was tested, before its color was chosen. They were made at the chip architecture level before the phone existed. Here's how this works, and it's the piece of the puzzle that Make Use Of described in June 2026 as the most important thing most Android phone owners don't know. The update lifespan on your Android phone is already determined before you buy it, based on what chipset it uses and what that vendor has committed to support. Android software updates, specifically major version upgrades, require more than just Google writing new software and pushing it out. They require something called a board support package, or BSP, which is the low-level software layer that connects the Android operating system to the specific hardware of the chip. This BSP is written and maintained by the chipset manufacturer, which is typically Qualcomm or MediaTek. When Qualcomm's BSP support for a specific chip ends, the Android version upgrades stop, regardless of whether the phone's hardware is physically capable of handling newer software. The hardware is fine. The chip can process the computations, but the low-level driver layer that makes Android and the chip communicate correctly no longer exists in an up-to-date form, and without it, manufacturers cannot ship new Android versions. The phone's effective software lifespan was determined when Qualcomm decided how long they'd maintain the BSP for that chip, and that decision was made years before you saw the phone in a store. MediaTek's record on BSP longevity has been consistently documented as worse than Qualcomm's, particularly for budget and mid-range chips. A phone running a budget MediaTek processor often falls off the update schedule faster than a comparable Qualcomm phone, not because the manufacturer chose to abandon it, but because MediaTek's BSP support ended. The manufacturer might have been willing to issue more updates. The hardware might have been capable. The decision had already been made by the company whose name appears nowhere in the phone's marketing materials, and whose decisions no consumer reviews or comparison articles typically discuss. This creates a situation where the most consequential choice a consumer makes when buying an Android phone is one they almost never consciously make. Choosing between Samsung and OnePlus, choosing between 128 and 256 gigabytes of storage, choosing between a 48 megapixel and 64 megapixel camera. These are decisions buyers typically research and consider carefully. But the chipset decision, and more specifically the BSP support window built into that chipset, is the decision that determines how long the phone remains safe and functional. And most buyers never engage with it at all because it requires knowing that the concept of a BSP exists in the first place. Qualcomm made a significant change to this picture in February 2025, when the company announced that devices powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite and future 8 and 7 series chips would be eligible for up to 8 consecutive years of Android software and security updates developed in collaboration with Google. This is a meaningful improvement from the 4 years of support that had been the previous ceiling for Qualcomm chips. But the announcement contained two critical caveats that define its actual scope. The first, Qualcomm provides the capability, but OEMs, the device manufacturers, ultimately decide whether to implement the full 8 years. A manufacturer could use a Qualcomm 8 Elite chip and still choose to provide only 5 years of support. The chip enables the longer support window. It doesn't mandate it. The second caveat, stated explicitly in Qualcomm's announcement, legacy platforms cannot take advantage of the extended support. Every chip released before the Snapdragon 8 Elite, which means every chip in every phone currently in use by the billion people who buy mid-range and budget Android devices, operates under the older, shorter support window. Now, the 8-year announcement is about the future. The present for most Android phones in use today is still determined by support windows that end well before the hardware fails. The third company in this story operates through policy rather than through physical hardware, and its decisions shape the expiration dynamics of smartphones across both major platforms in ways that are genuinely hard to trace directly back to a single moment or announcement. That company is Google, and its role in smartphone obsolescence runs through the architecture of Android itself, through the policies governing what software can and cannot run on Android devices, and through the decisions that determine when a device becomes effectively incompatible with modern digital life, even if its hardware and its official support status are technically intact. Google controls Android through the Android open source project, and the decisions made within that project determine the structure of the ecosystem in which every Android phone operates. The minimum API levels required for applications to function in Google Play move forward with each major Android version. which means that as applications targeting newer APIs gradually stop working on older Android versions, a phone running an end-of-life Android version loses functionality, not because its hardware has failed, but because the application ecosystem has moved forward without it. This is a structural feature of Android's architecture, and it reflects a reasonable engineering need to allow developers to use current platform capabilities without permanently maintaining compatibility with every previous version. But its effect on the consumer is indistinguishable from planned obsolescence. A phone that works perfectly well physically stops running applications that the owner needs, because the software environment it was designed for has been declared obsolete. Google's January 2026 decision to reduce AOSP code releases from 4 per year to 2 added a new layer to this picture. The formal statement on the Android open source project homepage explained this as aligning with Google's internal trunk-stable development model and ensuring platform stability. The practical effect for community projects that extend Android device lifetimes beyond official support, including Lineage OS, Graphene OS, and other custom-ROM projects that provide security patches to devices manufacturers have abandoned, is longer gaps between when Google patches something and when those patches are accessible to the open source community. A device whose manufacturer has stopped providing official updates, but whose owners relying on a community ROM for ongoing security patches, now faces a larger vulnerability window between Google fixing something and that fix reaching their device. The lifespan of unofficially supported devices, already shorter than officially supported ones, becomes shorter still. Here's the thread that connects all three of these companies in a way that's worth sitting with. None of them made their decisions about phone lifespan by consulting the people who bought the phones. Apple decided when to throttle CPU performance and didn't tell users. Apple decided which iPhone models would continue receiving iOS updates and didn't ask consumers whether the hardware they purchased was ready to retire. Qualcomm decided how long each chipset's BSP would be maintained and didn't publish that decision in any location where a consumer buying a phone would encounter it. Google decided that AOSP releases would shift to biannual frequency and announced it on a developer documentation page. These decisions were made for reasons that serve each company's legitimate business interests, and sometimes for reasons that serve consumers as well. Apple's battery throttling genuinely prevented unexpected shutdowns. Qualcomm's 8-year support extension is a genuine improvement. But the characteristic they share is the absence of consumer input. The person who bought the phone, paid for it, uses it every day and depends on it for communication and banking and navigation and everything else a smartphone supports, was not invited to participate in any of the decisions that determined when that phone would stop being worth using. The European Union is the jurisdiction that has moved most aggressively to address this dynamic, and the changes it has implemented through 2025 and 2026 represent the first systematic regulatory attempt to give consumers some of the input they were never given voluntarily. The right to repair. Legislation, which came into effect across most EU member states in 2025, requires manufacturers to provide spare parts and repair documentation for defined periods and mandates repairability ratings on device packaging. This directly targets the design choices, glued batteries, proprietary fasteners, cryptographic parts pairing, that reduce the probability of repair and increase the probability of replacement. France's criminalization of planned obsolescence under the 2015 law means that a company that deliberately designs a product to fail before its reasonable lifespan faces not a fine but a criminal investigation and a potential prison sentence for executives involved. Italy's 2018 fines of Apple and Samsung established a regulatory precedent that deliberately misleading consumers about update behavior and failing to disclose that software changes would degrade device performance constitutes an unfair commercial practice. Here is the e-waste dimension that makes this more than a story about corporate strategy. 50 million metric tons of e-waste are generated globally every year, and smartphones account for a significant portion of that total. The majority of those devices are physically functional. The hardware works. The screen displays. The cameras capture images. What has failed is the software environment, the update support, the ecosystem compatibility, the security patch availability that makes those physically functional devices worth using. The decision that transformed functional hardware into waste was made not by physics or chemistry, but by a company's support policy, a chipset vendor's BSP lifespan, or an operating system's minimum version requirements. The smartphone you're holding right now has an expiration date. It was set by these three companies before you bought it. The useful life of the hardware in your pocket was decided without your knowledge, without your input, and without any obligation to tell you until the support ends and the security warnings begin. Understanding how these decisions are made and who makes them changes what a smartphone purchase actually is. It's not a purchase of a device, it's a lease, for a term you weren't clearly told at signing, on a device that will remain physically intact long after it's been declared functionally obsolete. by the companies whose software decisions determine what functional means. The EU has begun to push back on the terms of that lease. France has criminalized the most egregious version of those terms. Italy has fined the companies that violated what it considers minimum standards of consumer disclosure. And the consumers who have been paying for devices whose expiration dates were already printed invisibly on the engineering specifications are slowly beginning to understand who set those dates and why.